taking time away from some other things that could be getting done today. Because, of course, it is crucial and important that we at least make an appearance and commune with the brethren. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the super fortress of intelligent black thought. Like no other place on earth, this is the blackchannel.net radio. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority, weighing in with you live tonight here, and we're very glad to have you with us here this evening. Now, there are, of course, some people who do not understand why it is that we do what we do here at the Black Channel. I don't spend a tremendous amount of time trying to explain to people who don't understand why we do what we do here. I'm expecting for there to be a group of people who understand why black empowerment matters. And I'm of a mind that if I have to explain it to you, then maybe you just don't need to be around for that. And in the 21st century, it is crucial, critical, and important that everybody know exactly why we're here. Over the last few weeks, I've been entertaining a few thoughts here. And one of the thoughts in particular that I've been dealing with is getting us to understand, realize, accept. Do you want to have %20 of 100%? Or do you want to have 100% of 20%? That's the question I've got for you tonight. Do you want to have 100% of 20%, or do you want to have 20% of 100%? Now that's a serious question that I'm asking you here, because I want you to think about that for yourselves for a minute. Think about that as far as what you want for your life. As far as what you desire for yourself and your children. Think about that. What exactly do you want? Because as time progresses, it's going to be important that we as black people realize that we've sold out a whole lot of our inheritance by chasing 20% of 100%. We have sold out a lot of what we used to own and what we could have owned by chasing something that's not even there. That if I can get 20% of what somebody else owns, then that'll be worth as much or more than me having 100% of what I own. And I touched on this briefly in my video, The Easy Life of Cinema Slaves. I touched on it briefly there when discussing the life of Bruce Lee. If you've all ever seen that movie, The Way of the Warrior, Bruce Lee touches on that in that documentary. They found some old interviews of him, and in those interviews he touches on that. How he went to Hollywood And Hollywood was not giving him the kind of roles that he wanted. They wanted him doing what he called the ching chong stuff. They wanted him doing those stereotypical Asian character things. And he was like, I'm not going for it, man. I'm not trying to have that. I'm not going to be sitting up here falling around being the butt of some white jokes. I'm not going to go for that, man. It's not me. So what did Bruce do? Bruce packed up, went back home, went back to China, and started making movies over there again. So that's what they don't tell you here in the United States. They don't tell you that, by the way, Bruce Lee had to go back to China because we in white Hollywood would not give him the types of roles befitting somebody of his stature. We were on some stereotypical white supremacist racist stuff. That's what we were doing. That's what we were doing. So you end up in a situation where a legitimate icon like this man goes back to his people and he says, you know what? We're going to build what we're building over here. That's what we're going to do. And we as black people have a really screwed up perception about what real empowerment is. Real empowerment is when you own everything. That's real empowerment. Real empowerment is owning everything. Now, that does not mean that you always have to do that, but what you have, you should own. And when you have an opportunity to own 100%, that is where real power and wealth is stored at. 100%. And black people routinely dismiss and disregard complete ownership. Completely. And that's why most of what we have in black society, most of our institutions, don't actually serve our best benefit. They don't actually serve our best interest because we don't have that. In the movie industry, black people would rather kill and fight and march and protest and every damn other thing that ain't doing us no good. We'd rather do all of that than to actually have something that we own. We would prefer to do that instead. We would actually prefer to do that. That's something that we can wrap our brains around. We can wrap our minds around the idea that we're going to fight the system to let us in. Instead of becoming the system, we have instead decided that it is our job to proselytize the system, and that is wrong. We should not be attempting to proselytize the system. We should have a system of our own. We should concentrate on getting 100% of our black dollars, as Dr. Claude Anderson has always said. We should concentrate on aggregating black wealth. That's what we should be doing. We should be concentrating on aggregating black wealth, black money, black finance, the black economy. We should get all of our financial resources in one place first so that we actually have a system we can plug into. And we don't have to care or be concerned if the other 80% of the population supports what we're doing or not. Because we are getting the full economic benefit of 100% of our efforts and our resources. We are realizing the full benefit of that. And let me tell you, having the power of 100% is a lot better than having the power of 20%. Because you got to fight and scrap and scratch and scrape and claw with non-black institutions just to get that 5%, 10%, if you're lucky, 20%. You gotta fight your ass off to get that, and then even after you have it, you don't own it. After you went through all that work to get them to give it up, guess what? You don't even own it. You're just there. You are just there. You don't even own it. You don't even own it. But you are hurting yourselves to try to break off a piece from somebody else's 100%. No, brothers and sisters, think about where we would be today if we as black people, who are the biggest users of social media, think about what it would be like if we actually concentrated our efforts in social media. Think about if we concentrated that towards ourselves. Because in China, the biggest social engine is not Facebook. In Japan, the biggest social network is not Facebook. By the way, people. In other countries, it's not Facebook. China is working very hard right now to make sure that American movie corporations do not walk into China, grab a foothold, and start dictating to the Chinese what Chinese cinema culture will be. They are working very hard, so much so to the point that white Hollywood corporations are changing the movies that they are putting out to please China. They are changing the content in their movies to please China. Example, this latest Transformers movie, Transformers Extinction. Kelsey Grammer said that there was a scene. You can go look it up. He said it a couple of days ago. They had it on Yahoo. Kelsey Grammer said that there was a scene in Transformers Extinction where I believe it was him. He was supposed to, they were in China, and he was supposed to be kicking this Chinese guy out of this moving van. And I think the guy gets run over later or something. The Chinese movie censors saw this and they said, no. You will not release that movie in China if that scene is in there. You cannot do that. Because we are not going to have a movie where a white man is kicking a Chinese national and sending him to his death and put that out to our people. We ain't doing that. We're not doing it. Go look it up. People don't believe me. Look it up for yourselves. And then come back and say that, oh, TBA made that up. Go look it up for yourselves. And it's not the only one. So you see, 30 years after Bruce Lee went back to China, China concentrated on their own movie industry with Ip Man and Sammo Hung, who actually trained with Bruce Lee in Chinese cinema, and others. Donnie Young, I think it is. Donnie Yuen. You see, they aggregated their power, and even though Chinese cinema to this day still is not the multi-billion-dollar powerhouse that white Hollywood is, China has so aggregated their power so tightly, and they have such an organized, united front in favor of their people and themselves, that even white Hollywood must bow to the dragon. Even they must now bow to him. That's power. That is the way it is supposed to be done. And I've got no problem with that. No problem with that whatsoever. The only problem I got is why the hell have we as black folk not done that? Because Chinese people have not suffered nearly as much or had nearly as many examples of the futility of trying to be a part of a Anglo-European system that we've had. How many times do we have to get our heads busted open before we start saying to ourselves, you know what? Why don't we cultivate a black cinema that concentrates on getting black customers. I want 100% of the black customers in this country, on this planet. I want all of them. I want to get all of those customers. That's what I'm concentrating on. Black people don't even want to identify as black. How the hell can you gather all the black customers together? If we just concentrated on doing what we need to do, then that would work out much better for us. We as black people have been watching other people, from the Japanese to the Arabs to the Indians to the Asians. They concentrate on getting all of their people together. They concentrate on locking down their economy first. That's what they concentrate on doing. We as black people are waiting on someone else to build it, and then we'll just see if we can carve ourselves out a little niche. And then you wonder why you go from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next in poverty. You wonder why that happens to you. You wonder why that keeps occurring. That keeps occurring because you have not made the honest efforts that you need to. That's why. And we as black people have not done that. Brothers and sisters, in the 21st century, I want you to imagine, just imagine for a moment what we would have if every black parent in America said that we are not going to buy another Marvel comic. Now, understand something, people. This is right here, what I'm about to get to right here. This is the reason why black boycotts fail. Because you notice I did not say boycott Marvel. And I'm never going to say boycott Marvel. That is silly and stupid. I don't believe in boycotts, people. I don't. I believe in black empowerment. And black empowerment does not occur from a boycott. I am not here to correct your racist practices. I'm not here for that. I am here to build our power so that it does not matter if you are a racist or an integrationist. Nothing you do can harm us. So it doesn't matter whether you are for us or against us. It is irrelevant because you do not own us or control us. So your position is completely inconsequential. Our position is just that solid and just that strong. That is what we do here in Intelligent Black Society. That is how we bring things together. And as black people, imagine what power you would have. Imagine how much power we would have. And I'm just taking comic books for an example. If we said that we're not going to buy any more Marvel and DC comic books, and we are instead going to buy comic books from competent black comic book creators, think about what that would do. Once young black men see that they have to put out a good caliber of comic book, think about what that would mean. And they no longer have to fight to get into white corporations. They have a customer base that is looking for them, and thus their product will find the customer base. We're not boycotting Marvel, and we're not boycotting DC. We are empowering ourselves so that whether Marvel or DC want to make a John Stewart Green Lantern or a Black Panther movie or not, they can make their Black Panther comic book or not. They can make their Luke Cage comic book or not. You can make your Black Panther movie or don't. You can make your Luke Cage movie or don't. You can have black comic book characters or don't. And we're not going to sit here and take you transforming Nick Fury from a white man to a black male and casting Samuel Jackson, because of course that was really actually done in the comic books first. But we're not going to sit up here and have you changing out races of people and tossing that to a sideline character, tossing that to us as a consolation prize. No, we want power. And you know what? You just keep doing what you've been doing. You be as racist and bigoted or tribalistic or whatever. You just do whatever you've been doing, man. We're not fighting with you anymore. We are not going to fight with you for a piece of your pie. You see that oven over there? We're baking our own. If black independent filmmakers who were competent and put out a quality product, and so far we're still waiting, but if black independent filmmakers put out a competent and quality product, and if we as black people said, you know what, we are going to give first priority to that, it doesn't matter if those movies only make $20 million. It's our $20 million. That's the point I'm trying to make to everybody. It doesn't matter if that comic book only makes $100,000. It's our $100,000. It doesn't matter if that independent film only makes $10 million. It's our $10 million. Tyler Perry makes his movies. It doesn't matter that Transformers makes $1 billion, people. Transformers makes $1 billion. Tyler Perry makes $150 million. But guess what? That $150 million, theoretically, in his case, of course, you all know that comes with a big asterisk, but theoretically, that $150 million stays with our people. If we can get some folk who are actually going to do right. That money stays with our people. The Wayans brothers. Damn that 21 Jump Street with Ice Cube as a bit character. When the Wayans brothers make a movie, that $100 million, yeah, they might not make $500 million like The Hangover, or $600 or $700 million like The Hangover 2. You might not make that. But you know what? That $100 million that you made, that's our $100 million. And that $100 million is worth 10 times what that $500 million for The Hangover was worth. It's worth 10 times that amount. Because that empowers us. That $500 million empowers you. This $100 million is worth more than if we had gotten $200 million being attached to one of your movies, because that $100 million that we got belongs to us. That $200 million that we got to divide it up with you. So we don't even get to keep that $200 million. We got to divide it up with you. We'd have been better off with $100 million that we owned, all of it, than $500 million that we only get $200 million and have to divvy up. We only get a slice of that $200 million. And you get to walk off with most of that. We'd have been better off with $100 million of our own. $100 million is 20% of $500 million. But guess what? We'd have been better off with that 20%. It's better for us to have 100% of that 20 than to have 20% of your 100. Do you see what I mean, people? So while the overall total amount of money might seem smaller, it is far more valuable. Because that money remains a resource amongst our people and begins the process of creating power and wealth. Because we kept that $100 million here. And maybe we don't get to make Iron Man 3 or the Avengers. But you know what? Just like Bruce Lee when he went back to China, check back with us in 5 years. Death Row Records didn't start off making as much as the Beatles, but it sure as hell ended up there, didn't it? And that only took a few years. We as black people, we can do anything that we set our minds and our hearts to. Right now, we got our hearts set on coonery, buffoonery, and lampoonery. We get our minds and our hearts set on group economics, power, wealth, and influence. Baby, the world is ours. But I want you to start concentrating on we as a people cultivating, owning 100% of that 20% of the market that we currently have. Instead of divvying it up, let's concentrate on us earning that 100% rather than trying to do the impossible. We are never going to get 100% of white society's pie. That ain't gonna happen. I thought you learned that with neighborhood saturation, home ownership saturation rates. Once a neighborhood reaches past 10% black homeowners, the white folks start moving out. So you will never get to own 100% of a white neighborhood because they're going to flood out of there before you ever get that far along. You will never have that. Furthermore, why do you even want it? Because you have this inferiority complex and you believe that doing that is going to make up for the deficiencies that you feel in yourself. No, we need to concentrate on owning 100%. If all we got is 20% of the market, we need to concentrate on locking down that 20%. That 20% should be untouchable by anybody else. And if we did that, our ability to make movies, comic books, novels, TV shows, man, it would skyrocket. It would skyrocket because black creators and black business owners no longer have to fight for a customer base. Understand something, brothers and sisters. Asians do not have to. Asians do not concentrate on competing with white society. Let me say that again. Asians do not compete with white society or white businesses. Asians don't do that. Asians do not force other Asians to compete in the free market. Maybe you didn't hear me there. Let me repeat that one more time. Asians do not force other Asians to practice capitalism or to compete in a free market. Now that's going to sound a little odd to y'all because the Asians are kicking your asses when it comes to capitalism in a free market, and a lot of places kicking white folks' asses. And you're asking yourselves, well, TBA, how can that be when they dominate the landscape in so many different ways? The reason that they dominate in capitalism so much today is because they do not force their own people to compete against other people. When I am an Asian and I set up an Asian store and all the Asians in town come to my store, guess what? These other Asians are not forcing me to compete against the white business across the street. Now, if the other Asians were forcing me to compete, other Asians would come in my business and start talking about you charge too much for this or that. Why can't I get a discount or a hookup? You know, Brad Taylor across the street sells this item for less. Asians do not force other Asians or attempt to coerce other Asians into competing against non-Asian businesses. They don't do that. They do not force other Asians to fight in the free market. They simply perform their function within the free market, but they do not force their people to compete in a free market. They don't do that. We do that. We want to force other black people to compete against non-black businesses who are fighting against all of us. Show me, for all that money that you black folk dropped on Transformers with their sparks and gears, racist robots, you go show me how much of that did you any good. Tyrese got a paycheck out of it. What does Tyrese own of Transformers? Oh, nothing. We would have been better off as black people to make a cheesy $1 million Transformer type movie, a Transformers knockoff movie. We'd have been better to spend $2 million, make $20 million. That would have been far better for us than what we got going on right now. That would have been far better. But we didn't do that. Tyrese got a role in Transformers, and we're trying to tell ourselves that that's doing us some good. Somebody explain to me how the hell that works. How does Tyrese having a role in the movie benefit all of black society? Tell me, how does Oprah Winfrey making $1 million under Roger and Michael King, what benefit does that have to the rest of black society? Show me the correlation between Tyrese's paycheck and benefits to black people as a group. Tell me how his individual paycheck is doing anything for us as black people as a group. Tell me, how does that happen? Show it to me. I want to see. Tell me. Show it to me how that benefited any of us as a group. I want to hear it. Tell me. It would have been much, even if Tyrese got $20 million for Transformers, and he did not, but even if Tyrese got that, how does it benefit us? Tell me. Explain that to me. How does, even if he got $20 million, what good did that do black people? We would have been better off making a $2 million robot movie starring all black people. And if that $2 million movie got $20 million, that would have done a hell of a lot more for black people than paying Tyrese $20 million to be a part of a white and Asian, which is what Transformers is, from Takara to Hasbro to Paramount. Transformers is a white and Japanese business venture. And if you don't know what Takara is, Takara, look it up. But Transformers is a Japanese Anglo project. And we'd have been better off if we had just made our own. And whatever we got from it was what we got from it, but that stayed with us. And we have forwarded the image on the screen that, don't you all understand that once you make a movie, a project, a business, once you make something the face of that movie, project, business, enterprise, don't you know once that becomes the face of it, that promotes the image of it? Mr. Clean. What is Mr. Clean? A bald-headed white male. Now, if they tried to change that today, what would happen to their sales? The brawny guy, what is he? A white male. Remember the old Deep Woods Off commercials? Another white male. The Jolly Green Giant. Look at his hair. White male. We can go down the list. That is marking your territory. And once you do that, you have identified it with your people. So no matter, in the future, you have protected it against changes or impurities. That's why it's such a difficult job to get roles changed out in these movies. To get a black Spider-Man. To get a black Captain America. Even if they say it's a new character who's going to be Captain America. They got that in the comic books, but you have spent a half a century identifying Captain America as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Anglo-Caucasian. Trying to change that up now, I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because even people who are not white identify and accept Captain America as a white male. And that is what they accept him as. White. Trying to change him up ex post facto. That's a little courtroom Latin for you. Oh, never mind. Look it up. Even if you try to change it after the fact, the people do not accept it. You have already stamped it and set the model, and that is what the people accept. So once we make these projects, it doesn't matter whether the lead characters, it doesn't matter whether the movie makes 20 million or 200 million. Once we have established that these projects, these entities, these businesses that we set up, once we put a black person as the face of it and it succeeds, you cannot move it. Once we have set that up as the model, you're not going to be able to move us. This project is now identified with blackness. It doesn't even matter if we bring white characters in after the fact. This is still a black project. There's a lot of people that we want to see for an In Living Color reunion. Jim Carrey showing up would be alright, but we would be just fine if he didn't show up. Some of the white corporate media would be knocking themselves over, but the rest of society, no, they want to see the Wayans brothers. That's what you came to see. We as black people need to understand the power of our image and our ownership. And if we concentrate on owning 100% of the black economy, which is what we do not do now, if we concentrated on that, yes, I mean, even aggregated, we are still only 1/2 of 1%. I get that. But if we dominate that 1/2 of 1%, that 1/2 of 1% is very quickly going to become 5%. And after that, that 5% very quickly thereafter will become 10. Because we are now utilizing the full firepower of that 1/2 of 1%. We can now start making big moves because we can count on that 1/2 of 1%. So even though the movie that I make does not make as much as Michael Bay or Steven Spielberg, that's all right, because as long as I can control my budget and control my marketing, I can and have the customer base doing what they're supposed to be doing, then we can start aggregating that into profit. So I've spent $2 million today. I made $20 million. I can come back next year and spend $10 million and make $100 million. Then I can come back the next year, spend $50 million and make 300 million. Now, did you notice I'm still not in Transformers, Star Wars, Avengers territory? We're not there yet. But do you see this is a definite trend? We are getting to a point where our money is so good that even if we never make $1 billion, we are making so much that we're eating good regardless. Yeah, I'm not making $1 billion like Avengers did, but you know what? I only made 200 million on a $50 million movie. I only made 200 million. In comparative terms, in proportion, I'm doing just fine because they had to spend 200 million to make $1 billion. But taken to scale, taken as a ratio, in proportional terms, we both had the same profit margin. We both had the same profit margin. He just spent a lot more to get his. Now, granted, I mean, he's still going to end up with more money at the end of it, but all he can really do is take that money and go back and make more movies, more comic books, whatever. But as we need to concentrate on having a profit, maybe we don't get $1 billion, but we get enough that my people ain't starving and living low no more. And we ain't got to beg your ass for nothing. Cause guess what? With $200 million, we can both buy the same Lamborghini. We can both buy the same beach house. We can both buy the same Armani suit. Should I probably get an African one? We can both. There is nothing that you can do with that 500 million that I can't do with 200 million. What are you going to buy? You may buy more of the same thing. Even with that $1 billion, you might get more of the same thing. But there was nothing that you got with that $1 billion that I could not buy at 200 million. There was nothing that you bought. I bought a Lamborghini. You bought 4 Lamborghinis. Okay, but we both got Lamborghinis. The 4 you got are identical to the one I got. You don't have a better Lamborghini than I do. You just have 4 more. But guess what? You can't drive but one at a time. So you got bragging rights if you consider wasting your money to be bragging rights. $200 million. You got a Bugatti Veyron. I got a Bugatti Veyron. We both got the same thing. Brothers and sisters, why am I sitting? You are sitting up here saying that if I can't get a piece of his $1 billion, then 200 million is worthless. That is a mental inferiority complex and a damn daddy issue. These are your competitors, not your damn daddy. Get that through your head. So if we concentrate on owning 100% of our black economy, the black economy we may not make $1 billion per comic book or per movie or per novel or whatever. But you know what? We will be just fine with that 300 million. We will be just fine. We will be just fine. And guess what? At some point, because we concentrated on getting the 200 million, at some point that 200 million will be $1 billion, 2 billion, 10 billion, 5 billion. At some point, if we do what we're supposed to be doing here, we will have the ability to get those other things, but we have to start understanding that looks don't mean anything. We need to start concentrating on power, people. We are wrapped up in a whole bunch of things that don't actually profit us. We are trying to get people to understand We're trying to get people to make us feel better about our inadequacies. Damn that. Damn your inferiority complex and your self-esteem inadequacies. This is not about trying to get other people to like you. This is about concentrating on power and wealth. And let me tell you one more thing. The reason that you never got to that 100 million is because you never tried to get to the 10 million. And the reason that you never got to the 10 million is because you never tried to get to the 100,000. If we would concentrate on getting our own equity out of the game, if we would concentrate on getting proportionally, maybe scaled down, but we are getting the same scale and the same ratio of profit that they're getting. If we concentrated on that, brothers and sisters, we'd have the billion. We'd have the billion. I want all of you now to get it into your minds that, you know what? If we all get on the same page, we'll make that happen. Not that we're shooting low, but that we are shooting for goals that are proportional to where we currently are, so that we can start building on that. Because you can build on what you got. You can't build on what you don't have. You can't do that. You can't do that. White supremacy understands that it's a numbers game. And that is why they play as a group and as a team. White supremacy understands that this is a numbers game. And that is why they count every individual black who gets disenfranchised, redlined, turned down for a loan, turned down for a house, demoted, fired, assaulted, railroaded into jail, or killed. They keep track of all that. They keep track of that. They keep track of that because they understand that this is a numbers game. And for every black person who is stymied, 5 non-black people's job is secure. Their position in society is secure. Their social status is secure. I'm watching the World Series of Little League. The Little League World Series. It's a black girl striking out white boys. A little black female, 12 years old, I think she is 12 or 13 years old, striking out white boys. Throwing 70-mile-per-hour fastballs, striking out white boys. The media ain't knocking themselves over to talk about her. They took a quick picture and ran on. They are not going to sit up here and show a black female with her foot on the throat of white males. They're not going to show that. You thought that Joe Louis was embarrassing to them. Don't you know that this is downright humiliating? A black female who is physically dominating white males. Hell no. And if she didn't make it to the Little League World Series, they would be ignoring her because they ignored her until she got there. They did not. It wasn't for the fact that she was pitching and you could not ignore her. They would have kept doing what they've been doing all this time and ignore her. It was only because she was out there and they could no longer ignore her. And that is why they railroad your black ass in court. That is why they demote you and railroad you at your job and fire you and redline you. Because in sports, they can't compete. When it is a level playing field, we win. We win all the time. She didn't just pitch a good game, she pitched a no-hitter. She shut him out. It was a shutout. They couldn't find the damn ball. And she wasn't throwing a bunch of crazy pitches either. They couldn't find the damn ball. couldn't find it. And that is why they railroad you, because when you turn on your television and you see a black female, I thought y'all were superior to us. She just sat here and kicked your ass with both feet and never got out of her chair. She never left her seat and kicked your ass with both of her feet and never left her chair. Hell no, we're not promoting that. And let me tell y'all, there's gonna be some judges gonna show up in court Monday giving black males life sentences because they saw their sons get destroyed by a black female. And they're asking themselves, is this... Oh, by the way, she was a dark-skinned black female with her hair braided up, by the way. So she wasn't trying to look European either, by the way. Oh, hail to the African now. Oh, we're gonna hand out some heavy time in the courtroom Monday. It's gonna be black folk getting fired and demoted all over the damn place Monday. And not gonna know why. They don't even watch baseball like that. Getting demoted and fired and don't even know why. Won't even know why it's happening. We couldn't whoop your ass on that baseball field, but I bet you I can whoop your ass with this gavel. Bet you I can do that. They understand that it is a game of numbers. They play as a group and you play as individuals. But their group targets your individuals, but they target your individuals in mass. So you get processed as individuals, but you end up being decimated as a group. You end up getting eviscerated as a group. As black people, that's what we need to concentrate on. You are up against people who are playing against you as a group, and they pick you off as individuals. It's time to compete as a group. If you don't like the way that your white bosses treated you at work, you find black businesses to deal with, and if you can't find one, damn it, you make one. And it will be mandatory that your business be clean, modern, and up to date. And then at that point, we will make it mandatory that every other black person has got to do business with you. Period. End of discussion. Bar none. It is now mandatory. Because we want all of that 20% that we got. We want all of it. Every dime of it. And all of us are going to get together and stick together to have that. These other folk are playing like a group. We need to play like a group. They're playing like a team. We need to play like a team. And it'll just look like individuals are elevating, but it's not. If everybody does what they're supposed to do. Starting with us taking control of what we have. Starting there. Starting with us saying, you know what? I'm not going to chase $100 million record deal that does not exist. I'm going to chase this $20 million that I can get all of it. Rather than chasing $100 million and I end up only getting $2 million. And the white record label walks off with the other $98 million. But everybody on earth knows who I am. Even though I only got $2 million. Man, let me get that $5 million that I keep all of. It's better to have $5 million that you keep all of than to get $50 million and only be able to keep 1% of it. And you know that's happening in the music business, by the way. You got acts out there, rappers out there, singers out there. They're making $100 million for these record companies and only going home with 5%. Only going home with 5%. So I made all the damn money and made all the damn sales, but the record company is walking off with 95% of the money. And you're trying to call that a win. To hell with that. Time for us to get it all. Time for us to get all of it. With everything that we do. I want us to start seeing things in their proper perspective and proportionally. That even though in raw numbers we don't match up the same, maybe, and we're trying to chase that 100 million because if Tom Cruise can make 100 million, I want 100 million. And I'm saying that even if you do chase his 100 million, you're not going to get it. It is better that you try to chase 10 million and you get all of that than to chase 100 million that you're never going to get. People, do you understand that we got black folk who are going broke and driving themselves crazy, trying to chase the same profit margins that white males are getting? Running themselves into the ground trying to chase that. And never get it. People, we need to understand that as long as we are making a healthy profit, we don't have to match those other people dollar for dollar yet. We want to match them percentage-wise. We want to match them as a percentage. We want to match them in proportion. And if we do that, then eventually the raw numbers will come. Eventually they will. That's what we need to focus on. For those of you who are not signed up for my new YouTube channel, my new YouTube channel is TBA. My old YouTube channel is open, but I'm going to be posting more videos on my new YouTube channel also, so you definitely want to get subscribed to that. If you are not, you definitely want to join up and be there. That is TBA. Can't miss it. I'm the only one out there. And on Facebook, you definitely want to join my official Jason Black group. That is the name of the group, the official Jason Black group on Facebook. And if you are not following us on Twitter, that is the Black Channel. Look for the picture of Eldridge Cleaver. That is the Black Channel on Twitter. You definitely want to be a part of that because there's folks in social media playing games, and eventually we're going to have a serious alternative to the garbage that's going on out there right now. But for right now, brothers and sisters, that's where you can find us to keep up on the latest happenings. We're going to see about releasing another clip for 7 a.m. here soon, so you all can see how that's going. And definitely you want to be a part of that also. So on Facebook, it's the official Jason Black group. On Twitter, it is the Black Channel. On YouTube, it is the Black Authority and TBA. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the BlackChannel.net radio. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, brothers and sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.